Günaydın.
Bu Türkçeydi arkadaşlar. Günaydın.
Günaydın. Hoş geldiniz. What you see on the screen is my university symbol or logo.
Ekranda gördüğünüz görseldeki benim üniversitemin sembolü. Michigan State University.
That helmet, that head is the symbol of our sports teams and our academic programs.
Akademik programlar sembolün ifade ettiği söylüyor. Spor ve akademik programları ifade eden bir sembolümüz var.
My university is located in the United States where the green state is on this map.
Üniversitemin yerleşkesi Amerika'daki yeşil olan yerde mevcut.
I'd like to show you a few pictures of my university.
Üniversite kampüsüyle ilgili birkaç resim göstermek istiyorum. Yazıyor zaten altında. Okay. So the translation is on the screen already. So I can be in silence.
Tamam. This is a photo of one small part of my university. See if you can find a small river that flows through the university campus. Can you see it? So my building is right next to the river. The university is very large. It has 600 buildings on the campus. This is the building I work in. The university has many colleges, and I'm in the College of Education. My professor colleagues and I prepare new teachers to teach in schools in America. I'd like to take you inside the building and show you some of the people. These are 200 new university students who would like to become teachers. They're excited. Yeah. It's the first year of 4 years in learning to become a teacher. This is our largest class. Most of our classes are much smaller. So I'd like to take you next door and show you a smaller classroom. This is a class I teach. It can have no more than 25 students. We think that learning to become a teacher is so important that there has to be personal attention with each person across their 4 years. I want you to notice a couple of things in the classroom. First is there are big screens up on the walls. You see those? There are 4 of them, and then there's a big screen in the middle of the room that we can move around. The students are working in small groups. All the tables and all the chairs have wheels on them, so that during class we can move things around quickly and easily. Sometimes we meet as a whole group, sometimes in small groups, sometimes in mid-sized groups. So for 3 hours, that's how long our classes are, 3 hours. We're moving, constantly shuffling, rearranging the room. Let's look at one of those small groups. These 3 young women are becoming science teachers. Notice a couple of things. They are using their smartphone. They can use their smartphones during class. They have laptops, and they have a tablet laying on the table. We think that every teacher needs to know how to use every technology So we use them in our classes when we teach at the university. Also notice that on the table is a book, a paper book. That's a technology. And we think that they still need to know how to use books well when they're teaching. We don't ignore books. Finally, if you notice near the very top of the picture, you see 3 screens. Those are robots. They're very simple robots, inexpensive ones. They don't look like the robots Elon Musk makes. They're very human looking. And we are beginning to use robots in our preparation of teachers. We think that their future is a place where they'll need to know how to co-teach with a robot. So we're beginning that work now. When we take a break, the robots can move around the room, they can go down the hall to the coffee shop. The building very much looks 21st century in the future. My students have no excuse to be absent from class because from their apartment or dorm room, they can control robots in my classroom. They simply open up their phone, open up the app, and they can control the robot, even if they're not feeling well. Their stomach might be hurting. And so they can participate in class with the robot, moving around, talking to students. We now have new robots. Here's a picture of them. And students use the same app, and they can move around the school campus. Next to the classroom is my office. Not particularly exciting, but you'll notice many computer screens. And part of the research we do is looking at how important is screen size, screen access, to high-level order thinking. Turns out that small screens, like those on a phone, are more difficult to do high-level, sophisticated thinking. And that young people, like you, need more screen space. And in the past year, I've worked with a company in California, looking at what if every wall in the classroom were a screen that you could walk up to and touch. You could move things around. You could slide things down the wall to your classmates and they could look at them. And they could slide them back to you. So we're always experimenting, trying to imagine what would the teacher of the future need to know and be able to do. And what would students need to be able to do and know also. One last slide about my university. Our preparation of teachers is very high quality. And in America, we're ranked #1 in the country in the preparation of new teachers. We've been ranked #1 for 31 years in a row. It's a pretty remarkable record to be #1 for that long. And so we're always learning, we're always experimenting. We're trying to push the frontiers of what we know about how to make good teaching happen. And all subjects at all grade levels. So that's a little information about my university. I have a talk also I could give, but before I do you have questions about the university, what it's like? I see a hand. Stand up and speak loud, please. Maybe you can put the microphone in his hand so I can hear you more easily. Go ahead. Don't be bashful.
Merhaba, ben Doruk.
Tamam çocuklar.
İlk önce yani üniversiteniz nasıl yani güzel mi?
He's asking that. How is your university? Is it good?
It's a good university. In America, we have 4,000 universities. There are many to choose from. The top 69 universities in the country focus on research, and Michigan State University is one of those 69 universities. So we consider those to be the best universities in the country.
Evet, var mı başka sorusu olan?
Another question?
Merhaba, ben Yada. Eğitiminiz nasıl geçti? Buraya kadar benim eğitiminiz.
Hello, I am Seda. How is your education so far until now?
Yeah, education.
What is your education? What can you say about your education to the students?
Okay. So then, one of the most important things that will shape your life now and in the future is your education. Not only what you learn, but the kind of effort that you put into your learning. You need to learn to really become a smart learner and to stay with very difficult things. Even when something is challenging, to continue working on it, working on it, working on it. After I finished school, like you will, I went to the university for 4 years, and a master's degree for 2 years, and a PhD for 6 years. So I spent 12, 13 years after I graduated from high school to become a professor. So if you have interest in becoming very excellent in your field and reaping some of the benefits from what an education can give, learning to know things and learning how to continue to learn are so important. Thank you for that question. I see another question here.
Öğrencilerinizi akademik açıdan başarılı olması için zorluyor musunuz?
Did you force your students to become a good learner according to the academic side? Did you
Force? So one of the things that we think is really important in teaching is to learn to motivate young people. And so we try and do very little that forces people to do things, but rather create assignments, create activities, and create projects that are highly interesting and that students want to do and gravitate toward. So the idea of forcing someone to learn is something that we only use as a last resort, some kind of pressure. Instead, we try and create learning that is exciting, interesting, and meaningful. Thanks for your question.
Çocuklar devam etsin aslında.
One more question.
Son soru. Çocuklar devam etsin sonrasında...
Ben Ayşemira. Türkiye'de de bu üniversiteleri açmayı düşünüyor musunuz? Yani bu Türkiye'de de bu üniversite çalışmaları olacak mı?
Do they want to know what I think of Turkey?
Will you open the same universities in Turkey?
Oh, okay. Well, you have very good universities in Turkey. I've been to the university here in Hartman'ın, and it's very good. I've also been to universities in Ankara, in Istanbul, and many other cities around the country. So I think many of you hope that one day you'll also be able to attend one of these universities. If you wanted to study in America, it's possible, but it is very expensive. I have 3 children, and my youngest daughter just graduated from college. For her to go to 1 year of college cost my wife and me $80,000 for 1 year of college. And if you multiply 80,000 times 4 years of college, that's a lot of money. It's $300 and some $1,000. So to study in America is great and good and possible, but it is quite expensive. So thank you for your questions about the university. I don't know, would you like me to continue with my presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay. If you'll give me just one moment, I'll get things set up.
Evet, hadi arkanıza bir yaslanın. Herkes de arkasına yaslansın.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I'd like to talk a little bit about critical thinking and artificial intelligence. I'd like to start with critical thinking. And I'll start with a story. When my children were growing up, I would take them to school every day. And when I would drive and drop them off, I would challenge them. And the challenge was this: ask your teachers a challenging question today. I did not want my children to go to school and just take in information. I wanted them to learn to be a challenger, to not accept everything as it was, but to be respectful. And when they learn something, say, why is that? How is that? Is there something different we should know about that? And so for 12 years, my children every morning heard, ask your teachers a challenging question today. Don't sit there. Be active. Push back. These are my 3 children. You can see they're in athletics. My son, he runs. My middle daughter is a basketball player, and my youngest daughter is a volleyball player. Your age. When they got into high school, at dinner, my wife and I would ask them, what idea did you challenge today? Or did you just accept everything you were learning as it is? Again, the interest here was then our children learned to be critical, to analyze, to push back, and not accept everything as it's been taught, and to do this in a respectful way. The idea was, for my wife and me, that to be a critical thinker, you have to learn to begin to challenge ideas and people respectfully. And that by doing so, you were learning to think critically. Well, it turns out that critical thinking doesn't occur a lot in many American schools. Students are just learning information, memorizing, and then taking tests. So as a professor, I look at the test data, the evidence. And I want to know what's happening in the U.S. in general around critical thinking. Turns out that students, they know what critical thinking is. They're aware of the term, they know what it means, but they're not using it often. Especially when they get on social media and they believe lots of things they see in social media. And it turns out that in many of the public schools in America, the teaching that's done does not cultivate, does not promote critical thinking. So in America, we're having a time when we're thinking about how can we better equip our young people, especially to be more critical, push back, and ask questions. Because I travel to Turkey often, I've been interested in what's happening here in terms of critical thinking. As I've looked at documents and observed in schools, I see that it's mentioned as a goal. We want to teach you and other young people critical thinking. But few lessons and objectives have critical thinking embedded in them. The international tests show that Turkey scored below the average on critical thinking. This is in general. There are schools that are very exceptional in teaching critical thinking. And on some of the measurements, when they asked students critical thinking questions, the students weren't even able to complete the task. They hadn't been taught or coached well enough to do that kind of critical thinking. So the students didn't even answer the question. So in both the US and in Turkey, there's a need. And I work mainly in my country, try and help promote and develop critical thinking. So my big question is, what can be done? What can you, as teachers, students, as professors at universities, what can we do to help promote more and better critical thinking? It's more important today, especially because of generative AI. And so for a few moments, I want to share some ideas, some things that I do to help facilitate critical thinking when it comes to generative AI. There are a couple areas where I do this. There's what's called standalone AI. That's like ChatGPT and Gemini. Some of you use those regularly. But there's also what we call embedded AI. And that's where AI is embedded in something you already use. So if you use Instagram, it has AI embedded in it. It's inside Instagram. Or if you use PowerPoint, it has AI embedded in it. So we have standalone AI and embedded AI. I'll show examples from both of those. So the first example I want to show you is what is called contrasting. Some of your teachers may do this, students, already, so it'll be familiar to you. The basic idea is that you want people to compare responses from AI using different AI tools. So when I do this with middle school students in America, I put 3 computers in front of them. And on each computer, we have a different AI tool. Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude. And then a small group of students enter in a prompt to each of these. It's the same prompt in each search engine. So here's an example. What's the best generative AI chatbot? They enter that into each AI tool. How do you think they answer? Well, Gemini says it's the best chatbot. Claude says it's the best AI chatbot. Excuse me, ChatGPT. And then finally, Claude says it is the best AI tool. So you can see right away that there's a bias here. That each of the tools says it is the best AI tool. And to my way of thinking, that's a problem. That's a bias. And it involves some critical thinking. Why is this so? Why are each of them saying they're the best? Is it because of the data they're drawing on? Is it because of the algorithms that they use to work with the data? Or is it something else? So tasks like this are the beginning of awareness of bias that can be part of the tools that we use and help facilitate critical thinking. Let me show you one more example. When I was a school teacher, I taught grades 5, 6, and 7. I taught English, literature. And when I looked outside my classroom, there was a big mountain. It was called Mount Hood. And we used to, this is before the internet, and I would ask students, how tall do you think the mountain is? So the mountain is called Mount Hood. And this is a picture of it. I would look at this mountain every morning out my classroom window. Sometimes my students would just sit back and look too, not pay attention to me. So if you have 3 AI tools, Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude, and ask the same question into each of them, this is what you get. Gemini says it's this tall. ChatGPT says it's this tall. They're different heights. Same mountain, but why different heights? And Claude says it's this. So we get 3 different numbers. Why? Is it measurement error? Is it that one time it was measured in the winter when the snow was higher, and the other time in the summer? So this kind of task, this kind of work begins to raise those kinds of questions. Why? Why the differences? Why, when we contrast, we see this? And it causes us to dig deeper, prompt more, and talk with each other. So this kind of contrasting is an important kind of task. And with my students at the university now, I always have them use at least 3 AI tools when they're working with artificial intelligence. Because in a way they get different perspectives, they get different ideas, and they notice differences that cause them to raise questions about whether something's accurate or reliable. The second thing that I want to share with you about standalone artificial intelligence is that of what we call co-teaching. And typically when we think of co-teaching, it would be me and another person, and we work together in class. But here I'm talking about not another person, but a machine. And so when we prepare our new teachers now, we co-teach with artificial intelligence. And we're working with teachers to do this in the school. The way we do this, there are a couple of ways. One is to use a machine like this. This is called M2. And it just sits on a table about this high. And it can, quote, listen while I'm teaching. You could listen to your teacher while they're teaching. And the teacher can turn to it and ask questions. It can ask it to summarize. It can ask to create examples. It could respond to student questions as well as I could. So it looks like this. There's a teacher, and M2 is on the table, and it's listening. And the newer models can see also. They have a little camera on them. It can also work in small groups. So you could have several M2s around the classroom. And as these 4 students here are working on an activity, it's listening to them talk. And the AI can step in and ask questions. It doesn't give answers, but it can assist and give help as they carry out the tasks that the teacher's given them. These 3 students are also doing the same. And you'll see the little camera at the top. They can watch what's going on. And so if the little boy on the right gets distracted, he starts looking around the room, not paying attention, helping his group mates, the AI tool M2 can say, hey, Volga, come back, pay attention. So in addition to M2, in my own teaching, I've begun to use ChatGPT. I just turn on the app and I say, hello, you are my co-teacher, and we're going to teach a lesson in the next 20 minutes. And so with AI, I do teaching in my classroom. And sometimes things go well, sometimes they don't. But I'm able to direct and coach the AI to assist and help out in ways that I might not be aware of. I've had students in my class who were not strong English speakers. So I can say, could you summarize that last point I just made in French so that my student in the back can understand it better? Or could you say that in Spanish? So it's a great tool in a number of respects. Another thing that we do, and this may be of more interest to the teachers, is that we use video quite a bit in helping our new teachers become better teachers. We use a tool called Mosaic. And in the classroom, there's video recording that happens. We upload the video to the web, and then we can analyze the video, both the visual and what's said. And artificial intelligence is part of Mosaic, and it helps us notice patterns. Maybe the teacher is saying, we call those filler words. And if a teacher says too many of those, we want them to learn to stop doing that and to just speak regularly and meaningful words instead of using those fillers. So there are all kinds of patterns that this AI can analyze in the video that's used. The final thing I'll share is what we call dialoguing. And we really want students to learn to prompt in a way that brings out multiple perspectives. So let's say that we're learning about climate change in a class. Essential idea to be learning these days. And we want to use an AI tool. We only have access to one. But within that one, we can have different points of view about climate change. This might be a little difficult to see, but the prompt here said to AI, create 3 people. And each of them has a different point of view about climate change. One thinks it's real. One thinks it's just a natural thing already happening. Humans aren't causing it. And the third point of view is denying it exists. So with these 3 people created in AI, you then begin to ask the 3 to have a debate. And AI will begin to create a discussion among these 3 people, challenging each other's ideas, asking for evidence to support their point of view. And I won't go through this in detail, but the next few screens you see up here are screen captures of that dialogue. It's a pretty interesting discussion among these 3 individuals. And by seeing the diversity of thinking, it helps facilitate and promote a kind of critical mindset. The kind of goal we have in producing and developing young people like you who can push back and analyze very well. So those are a few ideas that relate to standalone AI. What I'd like to do now is show you an example of what's called embedded AI, how it's already inside some of the things we use every day. It'll take me just a moment to set this up. the example I'm going to use is PowerPoint. I imagine your teachers use this in their teaching, and imagine that you might use it as you're making a presentation to others about something you've learned, something you want to communicate to others. The latest version of PowerPoint has several AI features embedded in it. First one, can you see me? Is that you can now project yourself inside PowerPoint. You no longer need to be a little image out in the side, but you can be right in the image. We can move it to the side, and we can begin to add content over to the side, like this, as we talk and present what we're learning, what we want to teach. Or we can fill up the entire screen, like this. So this is just one of the simple features that are now being rolled out slowly in the new versions of PowerPoint. I'd like to show you a couple of other features. The first one, I'll need to exit here. Let's say that I would like to create a new presentation. I'm going to type in some words there. On nanotechnology. And I would like it to look interesting and engaging. So AI now has a feature that will create backgrounds for you. It takes a little bit of time for that to show up. We'll be patient here. I think the Wi-Fi will work. It says sorry. Okay. I hope. Let me check Wi-Fi. Okay, I have it. Let me try typing this in again. See if it will work. Okay, I guess then the Wi-Fi is not going to work for me. But what PowerPoint would do is it would pull in backgrounds that you could choose from to put on this title slide. And what AI is doing is it reads your slide. What's the content here? And it chooses a background that fits with it so that they're congruent. A second feature has to do with the translation that you're seeing. You can see over here, always use subtitles is checked. And then I can change. Right now I'm speaking in English and it's producing subtitles in Turkish. But there are many other languages. I could go to Chinese. Let's go to German. And it should change to the German language now. Has it changed the language? Yes? You see that? Let's go back to Turkish. PowerPoint also now has the capability to create better quality images. Let's say you find an image and it's kind of blurry. It now has a feature that will help clear up the image so that you can see it more clearly and your audience will understand better what it is that you're trying to show them through that diagram, through that photograph, or even the video itself. Now, I don't know if these features are available yet in the Turkish version of PowerPoint. That's something you'll want to check into and see if it's available. But in the English language versions, it's been out just for a few months. In total, there are 6 AI features now being built into AI, into PowerPoint. So what I've done in the last few moments is to share a couple of ways in which critical thinking can be facilitated by the use of generative AI. I looked at standalone examples like contrasting, and I looked at embedded examples like are showing up in PowerPoint. In the days ahead, I challenge you to look for these features and to engage in these kinds of tasks, this kind of thinking, whether you're teaching or you're learning content in any of your courses. When we prepare new teachers in America at my university, these are the kinds of things that we're acquainting them with and asking them to use so that when they're out teaching children for their future, those children are better prepared to do the kind of critical thinking needed. So I'll stop there. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to respond. You've been very attentive, and I want to thank you for that. Any questions, comments, arguments, disagreements, challenges? You're all so polite. My students would disagree and challenge me.
Thank you so much. Arkadaşlar, kocaman teşekkürümüzü edelim.
I come from a family of readers and writers, so I'd like to give to your teachers here, I'd like to give you the book that I've written with colleagues on technology and education, and it's in Turkish. My wife is a children's book writer. She's written 3 books and written her 4th one, and I'd like to give to your school 2 of the books that she has written.